It's strange how evil works. It doesn't always wear a mask or come snarling with fangs. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits. And sometimes it lets someone like me pick it up. My name doesn't matter. I was just a limo driver back in 2000. Invisible. Forgettable. The kind of man no one looks twice at. That night I thought I was saving a little girl. Innocent. Lost, desperate for help. By sunrise I understood how wrong I was. She wasn't lost. She wasn't innocent. And she wasn't a little girl at all. She was something else. Something old. Something evil. It was a night like any other. Or at least it felt that way at first. Radio City Music Hall, September 2000. The MTV VMAs were in full swing, and the city was drowning in noise. Engines growled. Neon lights flickered off chrome and glass. My radio hissed with static like it was trying to warn me. Celebrity egos filled the streets, loud and demanding. I'd already ferried a few of them. Drunks, divas, men who thought money made them untouchable. I was parked at the curb, adjusting my rearview mirror, when I saw her. She didn't belong. She stood alone, a small silhouette swallowed by chaos. Her hair was tangled like she hadn't brushed it in days. Her clothes were plain, out of place among tuxedos and designer dresses. No phone, no ticket, no panic. Just standing there, watching the limos roll past. Waiting. I told myself to ignore her. Kids wandered off all the time in this city. That's what I told myself. But my eyes kept drifting back to her, pulled by something I couldn't explain. She wasn't scared. That was the first wrong thing. She stood perfectly still, untouched by the noise, the crowd, the danger. And when her eyes met mine, it felt like she wasn't looking at me. She was looking through me. Then she walked toward my car. She tapped on the passenger window. Once soft, polite. I jumped. I rolled the window down halfway, forcing on my annoyed, don't waste my time face. What do you want? I asked. Are you driving to the after party? She said. Her voice was calm. Too calm. My stomach tightened. Everyone knew about Diddy's after party. You didn't talk about it openly, but everyone knew. It wasn't for kids. It wasn't even safe for most adults. I'd heard rumors, dark ones, things that ended careers and ruined lives. You shouldn't be here, I said. Where are your parents? She smiled. Not sweet, not nervous. Knowing. I'm supposed to be there, she said. Diddy's expecting me. I laughed, sharp and uneasy. Yeah? Well, I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but you'll take me. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't threaten me, she told me. The words hit like a switch flipping inside my head. My thoughts tangled. My protest died before it reached my tongue. I stared at her, blinking, trying to remember why I'd been about to say no. I knew she was underage. I knew this was wrong. I knew I should drive away. But the air inside the car felt thicker, heavier, like smoke curling around my lungs. You'll take me, she repeated, softer now. A lullaby. I opened my mouth to argue. Nothing came out. It felt like something cold had reached into my head and gently turned. Off the part of me that knew better. I shut my mind down, turning away from the part of me that still cared about right and wrong. I didn't want to argue with her anymore. I didn't want to fight. Get in, I said, my voice sounding distant, almost hollow. She nodded, stepped around the car, and slipped into the back seat like she belonged there. The moment the door clicked shut, the limo fell silent. Too silent. It was the kind of quiet that made your ears ring. Like all the sound in the world had been sucked out and sealed away. She sat perfectly still, her hands folded neatly in her lap. That smile, small and sinister, curved her lips. I cleared my throat, my skin crawling. So, what's your name? I asked. Or at least I thought I did. The words were clear as day in my head, but my mouth never moved. The girl turned her head toward me. Her dark eyes narrowed just slightly, and I felt her gaze press against my temples, like fingers probing inside my skull. Say it. I tried again. I could feel the words burning in my throat, pushing against my teeth, but they refused to come out. What's your name? I thought louder this time, as if I could force the question into existence. Her smile faded. Her delicate, doll-like face hardened into something else. Her jaw clenched. Her lips thinned. For a brief moment, her entire expression turned stern and cold, utterly inhuman. My chest tightened. What's happening? You don't need to know my name, she said softly. Her voice was low, calm, final. The air inside the car grew colder. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, trying to steady my breathing. This wasn't normal. None of this was normal. I risked another glance in the rearview mirror. Her face was blank again, that small smile returning as if nothing had happened. It's just a name, I managed to say, my voice thin and hoarse. She blinked once, slowly, like acknowledging me required effort. "Names are dangerous," she whispered. "You shouldn't ask questions." Her words lingered in the air like fog, heavy, unnatural. I didn't ask anything else. I didn't say another word. I just drove. The mansion loomed ahead, a sprawling white monster behind black iron, gates twisted like bones. The driveway snaked toward the house, lined with expensive cars gleaming under the faint moonlight. Music pulsed from inside, muffled and distorted. Shadows slid along the walls, as if something were crawling just beneath the surface. I stopped the car. The girl climbed out without a word. Then she paused and looked back at me through the open door. For a moment, we just stared at each other. She should have looked young. She should have looked like a scared 13-year-old, sneaking into a place she didn't belong. But she didn't. There was something ancient about her, something timeless. Her eyes looked like they had seen things no human ever should. Her expression was calm, too calm, like she had done this 1,000 times before. As she turned and disappeared through the gates, I felt it. A pull. I sat there gripping the wheel, staring at the house as it seemed to breathe. Its lights flickering, its shadows shifting like it was alive, and like it knew I'd be back. My chest felt tight, like something was trying to swallow me whole. But beneath the fear, my heart pounded with something else. Curiosity. Go back. The thought came out of nowhere, loud, sudden, like a voice that wasn't my own. I shook my head, trying to push it away. I didn't want to go back. I couldn't. But the feeling grew stronger, heavier, like a hand gripping my shoulder. Go back. I have to, I whispered to myself. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was a need. Like some higher power had grabbed me by the spine and turned me around. I couldn't explain it. All I knew was that I had to save her. I turned the wheel. The mansion gates loomed ahead again, darker and taller than before. As I drove toward them, one thought screamed through my head. She doesn't belong here, and neither do I. I didn't know why I turned back, but I did. The gates groaned open once more, and before I knew it, I was stepping through them, drawn forward by a force I couldn't explain. It wasn't curiosity. It wasn't heroics. It felt bigger, like a hand guiding me, whispering, "Go back, save her." The moment I stepped inside the house, the shift in energy hit me like a wall. What I'd seen earlier barely scratched the surface. The party had transformed. The music pulsed louder, heavier, as if it were coming from the walls themselves. Smoke hung thick in the air, acrid, suffocating. Red light spilled from chandeliers and sconces, bathing everything in a hellish glow. The people had lost what little humanity they had left. Celebrities, faces I recognized from magazines and movie posters, weren't laughing anymore. They weren't pretending. They were unraveling. An actor with $1 million smile slumped against a couch, staring into nothing. Nearby, people stumbled across the floor, clinging to one another with desperate animal urgency. The air reeked of sweat, alcohol, and something darker, something rotten. No one cared. They weren't hiding anymore. There were no cameras, no flashing lights, no reporters waiting outside. It was the year 2000. Back then, you could get away with anything. I pushed through the crowd, my pulse racing. I was looking for her, the girl I'd come back for. I thought I saw her. Just a glimpse, her small frame slipping between bodies, calm and untouched by the chaos. Then she vanished through a side door. I hurried after her. "Hey!" a voice slurred near my ear. I turned. A woman with smeared lipstick held a glass of amber liquid. Another stood beside her, offering a tray filled with white powder. Pills, tiny vials that caught the light. "You look tense," one of them purred, fingers grazing my arm. "It's better if you don't fight it." I shoved her hand away. "No." Their smiles sharpened into something ugly. I didn't wait to see what came next. I kept moving. The side hallway swallowed the noise behind me. The music faded. The house grew quieter, darker. The air felt thicker, charged. At the end of the hall stood a heavy wooden door, left slightly ajar. From the narrow crack, I heard something faint. Not music, not laughter. Something else. Something that made my blood run cold. Laughter, murmurs, and something else. Breathless sighs and low groans spilled through the door. My pulse quickened as I pushed it open, and what I saw made my stomach twist. The room was dim, lit only by flickering candlelight, that cast shadows crawling across the walls as if they were alive. Furniture had been pushed aside, leaving a wide open space in the center. Silk pillows and blankets covered the floor, scattered with deliberate care, like part of a design rather than chaos. They were everywhere. Jay-Z, Jennifer, Mary J. Other faces I couldn't immediately place, but I knew them, celebrities, models, musicians. All of them stood or moved in slow, synchronized patterns, their expressions distant, almost empty. No one spoke. Their movements were deliberate, rehearsed, as if they were following rules I couldn't see. It wasn't indulgence. It was ritual. The way they shifted, the way the candlelight pulsed, the way the shadows stretched and recoiled with every motion. It felt choreographed, practiced over years. Red-tinted light bled into everything, turning the room into a waking nightmare. Sweat glistened on skin, and the shadows clung to them like oil, alive and watching. And then I saw her. She stood apart from the others, near the edge of the room. Small, pale, perfectly still. Her dark eyes were fixed on the ritual unfolding before her, unblinking. She wasn't frightened. She wasn't confused. She was observing. A faint, unsettling smile curved her lips. My legs refused to move. I should have turned around. I should have run. But I couldn't tear my eyes away. Diddy, puffy, moved through the room like a conductor, guiding the rhythm. He whispered to people as he passed, placing a hand on a shoulder here, adjusting someone's stance there. His smile never faded. His eyes swept the room with calm satisfaction. It was surreal. I'd spent years driving these people, taking them between award shows, private events, glamorous parties. I'd listened to them laugh about chart-topping hits and sold-out tours. Now they looked hollow, like puppets being pulled by strings I couldn't see. When I finally forced myself to look away, I realized she was already staring at me, her head tilted slightly, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. "We need to go," I whispered, unsure if my voice carried. She didn't move. "We can't stay here," I said again, louder, stepping toward her. The air felt heavier with each step, the shadows pressing in. Her smile faded for the first time. Something flickered across her face. Disappointment. "You don't understand," she said softly. I reached for her arm. Her skin was ice cold, and I swore I felt something pulsing beneath it. "We're leaving," I said, my voice trembling. She didn't resist, but she didn't help me either. Her body felt heavier than it should have been, as if she were rooted to the floor. "Please," I choked. "You don't belong here." Her eyes locked onto mine. For a split second, something ancient and endless stirred behind them. "They let you in," she whispered. "But they won't let you out." A low hum filled the room, vibrating through my bones, growing louder as the candle flames began to flicker wildly around us. And then the laughter returned. The sound twisted into something darker, into a noise that didn't belong to this world. The candle flames flickered violently, and the shadows stretched toward us like grasping hands. "Come on!" I shouted, pulling her harder. The door was still open. Beyond it, I could see the faint glow of the hallway. My mind screamed at me to run, to leave her behind if I had to, but I couldn't let go of her arm. As I dragged her toward the exit, I looked back one last time. The celebrities hadn't stopped. None of them even looked up. But he had. He stood motionless at the edge of the room. His smile was gone. His eyes were cold and empty, tracking my every move. I stumbled into the hallway, the girl still in my grip, and slammed the door shut behind us. The hum stopped. The air fell silent, unnaturally still. I bent over, gasping for breath. She stood beside me, her small body calm in a way that made my skin crawl. "Why?" I whispered, looking at her. "Why won't you leave?" She turned to me, that faint smile creeping back onto her lips. "Because this is where I belong," she said softly. "Not anymore," I choked. "You're coming with me." She didn't resist as I yanked her arm again, pulling her toward the door. But her body felt heavier now, as if the weight of the entire room was dragging her down. "You can't take me," she murmured. It didn't sound like a protest. It sounded like a fact. The candlelight dimmed. The shadows moved. A hum of whispers filled the air, growing louder, wrapping around me like a physical force. My heart pounded as I dragged her toward the hallway, the door wide open. The faint light beyond it promised freedom. Almost there. Then she stopped. Just stopped. Her body was rooted in place, heavier than stone. I turned to face her, sweat pouring down my face. "Come on." Her eyes locked onto mine again, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "You still don't understand. I belong here." I felt it then, a presence pressing against me, suffocating, ancient, as if I had disturbed something that had been watching me all along. Her words echoed in my head, repeating, twisting. "I belong here. I belong here. I belong here." "No," I croaked, shaking my head. "Not anymore. You're leaving." She smiled faintly, and for a moment I thought I saw pity in her eyes. "You can't save me," she whispered. The house seemed to sigh. I don't remember how I made it out of that place. One moment, I was pulling her through those suffocating hallways, her small hand cold and limp in mine. The next I was outside, gasping for air beneath the cold night sky. The mansion loomed behind us, silent, still. Its windows were dark, like empty eyes watching me leave. My car was waiting where I'd left it, just as it always was. Like it knew I'd come back. I didn't say a word as I opened the door and motioned for her to get inside. She climbed in without hesitation, sliding into the same seat she'd claimed before. I couldn't look at her yet. My heart was pounding too hard, my hands trembling as I gripped the wheel. "Where to?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Home," she said softly. Her voice was calm, too calm. It cut through me like a blade. City lights blurred past as I drove, the low hum of the engine the only sound between us. Every few seconds, I checked the rearview mirror to make sure she was still there. She was, perfectly still. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap, her gaze fixed on the window. That same faint, unreadable smile on her face. The air inside the car felt heavier than before, as if something unseen was pressing against my chest. I couldn't take it anymore. My voice cracked when I spoke. "What's your name?" The question hung in the air like smoke. I didn't know why I asked or why it mattered, but I had to know. At first, she didn't respond. Her expression didn't change. Her dark eyes never left the passing lights outside. Then slowly she turned her head toward me. Her face was pale. Her eyes were sharp and endless. Her smile widened just a fraction. "You shouldn't ask that," she said softly. I swallowed hard, my hands tightening on the wheel. "Why?" Her gaze didn't waver. "Because knowing my name ties you to me," she said, "and ties me to you." I repeated the words under my breath, trying to make sense of them. She tilted her head, studying me. "Names are powerful. They connect you to things, people, places, worlds. You never ask us our names." The way she said us made my skin crawl. "Who's us?" I managed to croak. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she shifted slightly, turning her full attention toward me. Her smile vanished, replaced by something darker, something ancient. "You wouldn't understand," she said. "But I'll tell you anyway." "You asked." The car felt colder. My breath came out in shallow bursts as she spoke. "I am the fallen prince," she said. Her voice layered, both childlike and ageless. The usurper, the first to defy the one, cast out but never destroyed. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at me to stop listening. I couldn't. "I go by many names," she continued, her eyes locked onto mine in the mirror. "The oldest, the strongest, the one who will be again." A chill ran through me, deeper than any cold I had ever known. I shook my head. "You're just a kid," I muttered. Her smile returned, cruel, knowing. "Am I?" The whispers I'd heard in the house crept back into my ears, faint and insidious, as if they had never truly left. I couldn't look at her anymore. I focused on the road ahead, my pulse roaring in my ears. The car felt smaller, like the darkness outside was pressing in through every crack. Finally, we pulled up to an apartment building in Queens. A forgotten place, peeling paint, broken streetlights, windows dark and hollow. I stopped the car, gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. "We're here," I said quietly, refusing to turn around. She didn't respond. "Hey," I said again, sharper this time. "We're here." Silence. My chest tightened. Slowly, I turned to look at the back seat. It was empty. The girl was gone. The door hadn't opened. The car hadn't moved. She was just gone. I stared at the empty seat, my breath hitching, the echo of her words still ringing in my head as the city lights flickered outside the windows. My throat tightened. For a long moment, I didn't move. I didn't blink. I felt like I was losing my mind. I got out of the car, stumbling onto the cracked sidewalk, and spun around. There was no sign of her anywhere. No footsteps. No shadow. No trace that she had ever been there at all. Did I imagine her? The thought clawed at my brain, shredding what little sanity I had left. But I could still feel it. The weight of her stare. The whispers brushing against my ears. She was gone. But she wasn't. Her voice drifted back to me, soft, almost sweet, yet carrying an impossible weight, as if it had traveled through centuries just to reach me. My throat went dry. I tried to speak, to tell her to leave me alone, but the words wouldn't come. "Names tie you to this world." She had said that in the car. The memory slammed into me like a hammer. Her ice-cold skin beneath my grip. Her calm, cruel smile. She wasn't a girl. She wasn't a victim. She was something older, something other. And now she was here. I squeezed my eyes shut. "You're not real," I whispered, the words barely escaping my lips. "You were never real." A small laugh answered me. It was faint, but it filled the room, stretching into every corner, slithering into my ears. "Do you think that matters?" She whispered. I opened my eyes. She was standing at the foot of my bed. Small, still, pale skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Her dark hair hung tangled around her face. Her hands were folded neatly in front of her, just like they had been in the back seat of my car all those years ago. And her eyes, endless, black, bottomless. I couldn't look away. My chest felt like it was going to explode, but my gaze stayed locked on her. "Why me?" I croaked, my voice shaking. "Why are you here?" Her smile widened, just a little. "Because you let me in." I shook my head violently. "No, I didn't. "You did," she said, stepping closer. Her voice never rose, yet it filled the room, wrapping around me, pressing in, suffocating. "You let me into your car. You let me into your thoughts. You let me into your fear." Her footsteps made no sound as she drew nearer, the darkness clinging to her like a living thing. "You could have driven away," she said softly. "You could have forgotten." She stopped beside my bed. "But you came back," she whispered. "You always come back." My body refused to move. My hands clenched the blanket as if it could protect me, though I knew nothing could. She leaned closer. I felt the cold radiating from her, seeping into my bones. Her voice dropped lower, intimate, almost tender, like she was sharing a secret meant only for me. "Ask me my name." The room seemed to freeze. The shadows held their breath. The words clawed at my throat, desperate to escape, to fill the silence she had left hanging. But I knew that if I asked, if I spoke it, if I let it exist between us, I would never come back. I would be hers. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing the words down, choking on the fear rising in my chest. For what felt like hours, the silence pressed in on me. Her presence lingered at the edge of my senses. Then, like a breeze passing through an empty room, she was gone. I opened my eyes. The corner of the room was empty. The air was still. My chest heaved as I gasped for breath, my heart hammering as I stared into the darkness, knowing, deep down, this wasn't the end. My breath came in ragged gasps, my body trembling uncontrollably. I thought it was over. I wanted desperately to believe it was over, truly over. But as I sat there in the darkness, a voice echoed faintly in my ears, soft, calm, endless. "I'll be waiting." The shadows shifted, just slightly, as if they were breathing, and in that silence something truly chilling settled into my bones. She didn't need me to ask. She already knew I would. Some doors never truly close. Some names are better left unspoken. And when the devil comes calling, you won't hear a scream. You'll hear her whisper, "Ask me my name."